Ever feel like you're just drowning in data? Articles, research, internal documents, it's like everywhere you turn right.
Yeah,
But how do we actually make sense of it all?
right.
Especially when we're talking about building like smarter AI, more human-like AI?
Yeah,
Well, that's where these knowledge graphs come in.
exactly.
And today we're diving deep into a brand new article, just came out actually, How to Build a Knowledge Graph, a step-by-step guide
Okay.
to try to unpack why this tech is such a game changer for, well, really anyone who wants to make AI work for them.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is that this isn't just about some fancy algorithm, you know?
Right.
It's really about bridging this gap between how we as humans understand information,
Mhm.
and how AI tries to do the same thing.
Okay, so unpack that a little bit because the article starts off, it's kind of funny. They throw a little shade at traditional databases
Sure.
and even the newer vector databases. They're so popular.
Huh.
And they claim that they just can't grasp these other databases. They can't grasp the nuances of relationships in data the way that our brains can.
Yeah, it's almost like if you're trying to understand a movie, but all you've got is this list of actors and props.
Okay.
Like you get the general idea, but you totally miss the story,
Yeah. Right.
Our brains are wired to see these connections, right?
Yeah.
Understand that Messi isn't just some guy.
Right.
He's the captain of the Argentina national team.
Okay.
And that relationship, it changes everything.
Huge.
Yeah.
And it's those relationships, those connections, that's what these knowledge graphs are all
Yeah.
about, right?
Exactly. Think of them like concept maps for computers.
Okay.
So instead of just storing these data points, knowledge graphs actually link them together like
Yeah.
this giant web of information.
Right.
So Lionel Messi becomes this entity that's connected to another entity, the Argentina national team, through the relationship of team captain.
Okay, so you're speaking my language now. I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to see the connections here, right?
Yeah.
And the article really emphasizes that it seems like such a simple idea, connecting the dots. This is the key to unlocking this whole new level of AI.
For sure. Because when AI understands those relationships, it can start to think, and I'm doing air quotes here,
Right.
think more like we do. So just imagine an AI that could actually understand why certain customer reviews matter more than others, not just what they say,
Right?
but based on like the reviewer's past purchases or their influence on social media.
So it's not just about finding patterns in the data. It's about understanding the context,
Yes.
the nuances that actually make that data useful.
Precisely. And you know what? That leads to some really incredible real-world applications that I'm sure we'll get into.
I hope so, yeah.
But first, I kind of want to take a step back and just talk about how this whole knowledge graph thing actually works.
Yeah, please.
Because the article does a really good job of laying out this step-by-step
Yeah.
process.
It's 11 steps. 11 steps to be exact, yeah.
Yeah, it's not simple.
We don't have time to go through every single step.
Mm.
But the article makes it clear that building a knowledge graph, it's a journey.
For sure.
And like any good journey, you need, the right tools.
It's true.
And they keep mentioning this FalkorDB. It's a graph database, but specifically designed for these knowledge graphs. They even go so far as to use it in this really cool example. I don't know if you saw this.
Oh, yeah.
The Matrix movie reviews example.
Oh, yeah.
Did that catch your eye too? Because they actually show you how to build a knowledge graph from those reviews
Yeah.
using this FalkorDB thing.
That's the one. It's a great example because it shows how you can use these knowledge graphs to understand something as complex as like sentiment analysis.
So instead of just seeing a bunch of reviews that say, The Matrix is awesome, or, The Matrix is confusing, the knowledge graph can actually understand the relationships between like different aspects of the movie.
Right,
Like
yeah.
the actors, the special effects, even the philosophical themes, right?
Exactly. And it can actually connect those aspects to the sentiment that's being expressed in the reviews,
Well,
giving you this much richer understanding of what people actually liked or disliked, and more importantly, why. But to do that, you need a really powerful tool,
Yeah.
which is where FalkorDB comes in. And the article really highlights its visualization tools, which are absolutely crucial because...
Hold on. Because visualizing a complex knowledge graph
Yeah.
sounds about as fun as reading a dictionary to me.
Yeah.
How does FalkorDB make that any easier?
Mm-hmm. Well, imagine trying to understand the connections between like hundreds of movie reviews, without any kind of visual aid.
Right.
It'd be a mess. Total mess.
So FalkorDB it lets you see those connections, those relationships between all these different entities
Yeah.
in a way that actually makes sense to, us humans.
Yeah, it's like the difference between reading a list of ingredients and like seeing a perfectly plated dish.
Okay.
It's like FalkorDB helps you visualize the why behind the data,
Yeah.
not just, the what.
Which is super important, especially when you start to think about how knowledge graphs can be used with, those large language models, the LLMs everyone's talking about.
Right.
Because as smart as LLMs are,
Sure.
they can sometimes go a bit off script.
Oh, yeah, the infamous AI hallucinations.
Yeah.
It's like, think of it this way. LLMs are great at mimicking human language,
Okay.
but they don't always actually grasp the meaning behind the words. So they can generate these big blocks of text that sound totally plausible,
Right.
but are actually, like, factually incorrect, or even completely nonsensical.
Like that time I asked a chatbot to write a poem about penguins flying to the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
It rhymed,
Right.
but it was biologically questionable.
Totally. And that's where these knowledge graphs, that's where they come in to save the day.
Okay.
Because they provide this structured, accurate base of knowledge that the LLMs can then tap into.
Right.
So it's kind of like giving the LLM a cheat sheet,
Okay.
but instead of just spitting out the answer, it uses that cheat sheet to actually understand the concepts you see,
Right.
and then it can generate much more accurate and trustworthy information.
So essentially you're grounding their responses in reality.
Precisely. And the article really highlights how FalkorDB, with its ability to handle these massive, massive amounts of data, is particularly well suited for this.
Yeah.
We're talking about integrating these vast knowledge graphs with these equally vast language models.
It's really mind-blowing when you think about the scale of it all.
It is.
But also how it can make AI more accessible and useful for everyone. And we've talked about, smarter search engines that understand what you actually mean, not just the keywords that you type.
Right. And let's not forget about personalized recommendations.
Oh, yeah.
That actually align with your interests, your preferences, not just what everyone else is clicking on. Imagine an online store, for example,
Right.
that knows your style better than you know it yourself.
Okay, that's both amazing and a little creepy.
Right.
But it does, it really highlights how these knowledge graphs can take something like online shopping, which can feel very impersonal.
For sure.
And make it truly tailored to you. But this goes way beyond shopping, right? The article even hints at applications in healthcare education.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Imagine a world where doctors can actually use AI to analyze a patient's entire medical history.
Right.
And really understand the intricate relationships between symptoms and diagnoses and treatments.
Wow.
To develop truly personalized treatment plans.
So we're talking about AI that doesn't just diagnose based on symptoms,
Right.
but it actually understands the underlying causes
Yeah.
and connections within a person's unique medical history. That's a whole new level of healthcare.
Absolutely. And in education, imagine AI tutors that can adapt to a student's learning style, their pace,
Wow.
identifying areas where they're really excelling, where they need more support. Knowledge graphs could make personalized learning a reality for everyone.
So you're not talking about replacing teachers.
No.
You're giving them this powerful tool
Exactly.
to understand how each student learns best.
Exactly.
That's incredibly powerful.
It is.
But with any powerful technology, it makes you wonder about the ethical side of all this.
Right.
Right? We're talking about giving AI the power to understand information in ways that were, unimaginable before.
Yeah.
So that comes with some big questions about responsibility and oversight.
It does, yeah. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility, they say.
It's true.
And, the article actually doesn't shy away from these questions either. It talks about the need for transparency and accountability in how these knowledge graphs are actually built and used.
Which makes sense because if AI is going to be making decisions
Right.
that impact, our health, our education, really our lives.
Yeah.
We need to know that those decisions are being based on, accurate and unbiased information.
Right.
We need to be able to trust the system.
And that trust is built on understanding.
Yeah.
So the more that we, as users of these technologies, understand how these knowledge graphs work,
Right.
the better equipped we'll be to ask the right questions,
Okay.
to demand transparency. Right.
And to make sure that they're being used ethically and responsibly.
So knowledge really is power, just like the article says. But it's not just about AI having more power.
Right.
It's about us having the power to actually understand
Yes.
and shape how that AI is used.
And I think that's a really key takeaway from all of this. This isn't just about some abstract technology.
Right.
It's about the future that we're building
Yeah.
together, a future where, yeah, AI has the potential to solve, some of our biggest challenges,
Right.
but only if we approach it with both excitement
Yeah.
and a healthy dose of critical thinking.
So for our listeners who are out there maybe thinking, this all sounds amazing, but where do I even begin? What's my next step? What would you say?
I would say the first step is just to stay curious.
Keep learning about knowledge graphs.
Yeah.
Explore the tools, the resources that are available, and don't be afraid to experiment,
Yeah.
The beauty of all this is that, the technology is constantly evolving. So there's always something new to discover.
It's like we're at the very beginning of this new era of AI.
It feels that way.
And these knowledge graphs are like our guidebook.
Yeah.
They're showing us the way.
It's true.
And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to write the next chapter in this story.
Mm-hmm.
Developing some groundbreaking application or uncovering some new insight that changes the way we even think about information.
Yeah.
I mean, the possibilities are, as they say, limitless.
I love it.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to kind of wrap up this deep dive into the world of knowledge graphs. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
We started with, the limitations of
Wow.
these traditional databases, and now we're talking about, the mind-blowing potential of this game-changing technology.
It is.
And we've really explored how these knowledge graphs are making AI smarter, more reliable, and ultimately more useful for all of us.
It's been an incredible journey, and we've only just scratched the surface here.
It's true. But hopefully this deep dive has kind of sparked your curiosity a little bit
Yeah.
and given you a new perspective on the power of knowledge, in this age of AI. Until next time, keep asking those big questions.
Right.
Keep exploring, and most importantly, keep connecting those dots.